When I listen to you speak, when I listen to you when you appear on all of the major networks, when I read your stuff, my impression is you're smart, you're quick, you're very outrageous, and sometimes I think to myself, you're Lenny Bruce without the 2-drink minimum. You know what I mean? I mean, there's lots of jokes here. Do people get the jokes, or are you being serious? And is that part of the problem, is people can't distinguish?
Thank you. I mean, I think, although I am trying to make serious points, nothing makes me happier than being told I'm funny. I was giving a speech at CPAC a few years ago and making jokes about terrorists, Muslim terrorists, and a Muslim was upset with me, and he came up to my book signing and said to me, "You are not a political commentator. You're a stand-up comedian." And I said, thank you. Funny is hard. Having a political opinion is easy. But yes, of course I'm trying to make a point.
So is that your problem? The problem is you're just not getting the punchline out there the way you want it, or the fact that the audience just isn't figuring it out?
I don't think I have a problem. I'm a massive best-selling author. I think the message is getting out just fine.
Let's look at some other issues. When we look at presidential power, there's a debate that's going on right now with the new nominee for the Attorney General. If we look back at Alberto Gonzales, one of the things people are continuing to sort of dig into is the presidential powers, the emergency powers. And you've talked about this a lot back in 2002, 3, 4, and even 5 and 6. And we're looking at the rights of the president, specifically when it came to detainees, interrogation, even wiretaps. How much power should this, or frankly any president, have when it comes to those issues?
I mean, that's kind of a weird way to phrase it. It's not so much how much power. It depends on the circumstances, but I think the point is, the overriding and more important point is, liberals don't care about people's civil liberties. We have this story, which I mentioned in my book, now it's getting all of this play here, that Hillary was listening to illegally wiretapped enemies of Bill. I've gotten, phony subpoenas from Representative John Conyers demanding all of my correspondence with my friends, which I describe in the book. Republicans are constantly being investigated and having their garbage gone through. The questions I'm asked regularly are, I think, infringing on my constitutional right to privacy. Liberals don't care about privacy. They don't want to protect America from terrorism.
But at the same time, if we look at that question, I mean, there's a huge fight right now, really coming out of the vice president's office, simply because he was chief of staff under Ford, simply because he was working back in the Nixon administration, about just how much power a president should have. The president and the vice president, very clearly, Alberto Gonzales and others, were saying we should be able to do certain things to detainees. We should be able to interrogate a certain way, and we don't have to even use the torture name. We can call it something else. We should have the right to be able to listen to people. Even in this,
we can call it something else. It's that, contrary to hysterical accounts in the newspapers, there are legal definitions to words like torture, just as there are legal definitions to words like high crimes and misdemeanors. This isn't just, a random dispute that, any idiot with a web page can go, oh, I'm against torture. There are specific techniques that can be used and can't be used. Part of the issue is also technical definitions of what an enemy combatant is and whether someone is entitled to constitutional protections. Liberals they would send in trial lawyers for POWs taken in World War II. This is an extremely difficult war because we're not at war with a country or countries. This is a disease spread primarily throughout the Middle East, but also the entire world. The enemy lives among us, and the idea that you're going to treat an Islamic fanatic who wants to set off a dirty bomb in New York the same way you treat Martha Stewart facing an insider trading charge is preposterous. And that is what liberals are demanding, not because they have this overwrought concern with civil liberties, because we know they do not. It is because they want to be a drag on the war on terrorism.
Does that mean we can do this to Americans too?
Well, these are. It depends what the facts are. You can't just say to Americans.
Well, there's the argument of what we did with Padilla and Hamdi.
Well, I'm answering. Is the American and enemy combatant, because in World War II, Nazi saboteurs got off boats in Long Island, and one of them was an American, and FDR had executed them within about a week. They had a military tribunal, and one was an American citizen, and he was executed. You engage in war against the United States, you are an enemy combatant. Now, these are legal definitions. You just can't say, oh, what about an American? It depends if it's an enemy combatant.